Okay, think about the term consistency for a moment. I bet you've used it a gazillion times to describe things like ice cream or soup or a sauce. And when you describe the consistency of these types of things, what you're really doing is you're describing the way that the elements that comprise the ice cream, soup or sauce come together in relationship with one another. And so if I taste a sauce and I say, well, that is a really odd consistency. What I'm really saying is, the way the elements that comprise this soup come together to create its substance, the way these things come together, it's off. There's something not right about it. It doesn't work. But if I taste the sauce, I'm like, oh wow, we got the consistency spot on here. That's really good. What I'm saying is these elements are coming together in relationship with one another in a way that works. There's something that's really right about the way that they're relating to one another. Now in logic, we use this term consistency in kind of a similar manner. When we say that a set of statements is consistent, what we're saying is that it's possible for all of the statements in this set to be true at the same time. There's no contradiction among these statements, so that when I come to you and I say, hey, check it out. It's raining and it's windy. And you say, okay, that's not nonsense. It's possible that it could be raining and windy at the same time, so these statements are consistent. On the other hand, if I come to you and I say, hey, check it out, it's raining and it's not raining, you can say, what? This doesn't make any sense, because I know that at any given moment in time, in a particular location, it has to either be raining or not raining. It can't be both. So it's not possible for both of these statements to be true. They're inconsistent. Okay? Now in ethics, when we talk about consistency, we're talking about our actions. We're talking about all of the actions that we take in our life that comprise our ethical life. And we're talking about all of the moral judgments and moral claims that we make that comprise our ethical system. And what we're asking ourselves is this, do my actions, do my judgments harmonize together? Did they all come together to create the total of my actions and the total of my judgments in a way that's consistent? And what we are really asking when we ask about the consistency of our actions and judgments is about our impartiality. In our life, in our ethical system, does everyone receive equal consideration unless there's some morally relevant distinction that we can make that would justify treating two people differently? Okay? So one thing we're looking for is impartiality. Is everybody getting equal consideration? The other thing we're looking for is universality. Okay? Are the rules applying in all similar situations in the same way? And if we're not applying the rules in the same way in similar situations, is there a morally relevant distinction that we can make that justifies treating people differently, applying the rules differently? So imagine this situation. Imagine it comes time for you to submit one of your assignments. You submit it, I grade it, I grade your classmates, one of your classmates, and your classmate receives a grade of A, and you receive a grade of B. Would you regard me as being inconsistent in my actions of grading if the reason that the other student got an A and you got a B was that there was a difference in performance? Your classmate answered 95 out of 100 problems correctly, and you answered only 80 out of 100 problems correctly. Would that serve as an appropriate justification for treating you differently when assigning a grade to your work? Is it possible for me to be consistent and still treat you differently? And you'd probably say, well, yeah, as long as you're giving us the same problems to solve, and as long as you are applying the same grading criteria in the same way, then I can see how treating us differently wouldn't necessarily indicate that you're being inconsistent. In fact, if I knew going in that the rules were an 80 results in a B and a 95 results in an A, and you gave us both A's, then I might say you were being inconsistent. Now, what about if the reason you got the B and your classmate got the A was that I was more tired when I was grading your work than your classmates? And you'd probably say, like, hey, buddy, that's not sufficient justification for the different treatment here. The burden's on you. You didn't treat me fairly. You'd graded us inconsistently, and there was no morally relevant distinction, or in this case, no performance distinction, relevant performance distinction between the two of us that would justify giving us different grades. So you're being inconsistent in the way that you apply your grading criteria. Similarly, if I just liked your classmate's sense of clothing style more than I liked yours, you might again cry foul. It's like, wait a minute. Your job is to apply the same grading criteria in the same way to both of us. And if that results in different grades, fine. That's not an inconsistency. But if you are not applying the grading criteria in the same way and are instead evaluating my work based on my clothing style, you're being inconsistent in the way that you grade. Now, what about this scenario? Your classmate got the A, you got the B, and I gave your classmate the A because your classmate worked harder than you did. Let's say that your classmate is just not good at whatever the subject is, and you just are a bang-up whiz, man. You can do that work so efficiently and so effectively very quickly, but your classmate really has to labor over that work. Would that serve as appropriate justification for giving your classmate a higher grade than you? I'm going to bet a lot of you are thinking like, well, no. Because you don't have any way to know how hard all of us are working. And quite frankly, how hard we work is irrelevant to the performance that we offer you. So no, I would not say that you are being consistent if you gave somebody a higher grade based on their effort, unless the assignment was about effort. Okay? All right. So when we talk about consistency in our ethical actions and in our ethical judgments, we're looking to create a set of judgments and a set of actions that exist in harmony with one another.